This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich.
And I'm Kelly Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help wedding filmmakers and photographers level up their businesses so you can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome to the very first episode of the Level Up Podcast here in 2026. Happy New Year. Kelly and I are excited to hit the ground running with you on the podcast this year. We are ready to really chase after some big goals this year, and this episode is going to be perfect for it. But first, Kelly, how are you doing?
I'm good. I just got back from a staycation with my family. We actually have quite a bit of travel lined up for January. I feel like if 2025 showed us anything, it's just how quickly our schedules can get booked out and our time becomes not ours completely. And so in January, things are, they tend to be a little bit slower. Zero backlog on the calendar anymore. So yay for that. And so we just did a staycation. We're going to go on a little ski trip in a couple of weeks. And then we just also got back from Mexico. So it was like bam, bam, bam on all the travel.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, so full. We are gearing up. So full. I'm exhausted just listening to you. My birthday's in January, so that's always a funny one. Nobody's ready to celebrate again after a big holiday season, so that's always kind of a strange dynamic. But we're getting ready for that here in the next week or two. And then we're going to be in Nashville the last weekend of January, which we're very excited about. Just James and I are headed out there, and we're going to do a little league coffee meetup on that Friday. So excited to hang out with some of our league members in Nashville. I picked out a cute little coffee spot in Brentwood. But yeah. Okay, you guys, Kelly and I have just mapped out this podcast episode. We are really excited to be bringing something fresh and something new. We hinted at it at the podcast last week that we are really going to be doing some fun things, and we didn't want to wait. So let's go. We are bringing to you a brand new masterclass here in January 2026. It is called the Magnetic Brand Masterclass, and we would love to invite you to join that. You can sign up for free at thelevelupco.com/masterclass and save your seat. It'll be taking place next week, but we're going to walk you through a little framework to get us started here on the podcast. Kelly, what have we got for the people?
Well, I'm really excited for this masterclass. It's going to be on the 14th. It's just a one-day masterclass. So meet with us for 1 hour. It's going to be filled with tons of value onto how to take your brand to that next level. You may be feeling a little bit invisible in the new year, and you want to be able to create a framework to become truly in demand, either in your local market, be seen by a whole new group of creatives, be seen by that next level of client that's going to be able to raise your booking average for 2026. And so we're really excited to pour into photographers and filmmakers who are growth driven and ready for the next phase of their business. So the Magnetic Brand Masterclass is going to be exactly that. And we're going to give you guys a little bit of a hint as to what we have planned in terms of the framework for all of you guys who are going to be with us next Wednesday.
Yeah, we can't wait. This is really going to be something that helps you take your brand and your business from invisible to in demand, which is, if you know anything about the wedding industry, from now in January through March, this is big booking season. So if there were ever a time for you to become very, very visible to the exact clients you want to be booking, now's the time. So Kelly and I created a little framework for this podcast episode to get us started, to hint to what's inside this masterclass. And we are calling it the Who, What, Where framework. We love our little acronyms. We love structuring things in ways where it makes sense this way. So it's easier to follow for you guys. If you would look inside mine and Kelly's brains, it's like a jumbly mess all the time. So I feel like we need to lay it out in these little structures. I hope you guys like them.
Yeah.
But the first, I would say third of this little trilogy, if you will, of the Who, What, Where framework is the who. And I feel like if we're being honest, this is the one where it's the most important. It's like the base of a pyramid when you're looking at it. If you're looking at your brand being a pyramid, and everything that is to follow when it comes to your brand building efforts is all based on the who. And it's who you're trying to attract.
Yeah. And we really need to look at this at like such a, like, it needs to be looked at with such intention, which I think is the
Mhm.
biggest part that creatives don't always think about. And that's one of my most favorite things that we bring awareness to with our students when we work with them is redoing this ideal client avatar. If you don't know who you want to attract, you're never going to be able to attract them. And a lot of times that has to do with a slew of other things, your branding, your positioning, so many other things. But in order to create that truly magnetic brand, you're really going to need to be able to figure out who is it that you want to work with? Who do you serve well? Who is that client that you want to land on your website or see through your portfolio and say, yes, this is who I want to work with. Let's inquire. Let's get a date booked on the calendar and a retainer paid. When we're kind of just creating a lackadaisical brand, is what I like to say, it's really not really attracting anybody. And sure, you can have great visibility. I look at this in terms of like social media. There's tons of smoke and mirrors on social media. And I know that there is this like idea that virality is the way to go. But what is so like, I would say, dangerous, like a dangerous habit in business, is to be chasing virality versus portfolio worthy things that are going to attract that next level of client. We're going to attract people, but it's not going to be the people that we really love to work with and the ones that in turn become like dates booked on our calendar. Does that make sense, Taylor?
Yeah, when I think of creating a really, really magnetic brand, a brand that's in high demand, I like to try to look outside of the wedding industry to imagine how we can apply it to our businesses. So, being luxury service providers, I feel like this is a really easy parallel to draw. So, in the world of luxury brands, when it comes to like handbags, accessories, things like that, I like to kind of paint this picture as maybe they're all priced similarly, but they're attracting very, very different people. So I just chose three so that we can kind of illustrate this point. So Balenciaga, Chanel, and Gucci all have very, very different ideal clients. And it's very, very apparent by the way they're branding themselves, by the celebrities they're using to endorse their products, and by even the language they're using throughout social media or on their website, right? So, like, the Kardashians, like Kim Kardashian's a big like Balenciaga person. They're a little bit more like, well, a lot more edgy. Like they're definitely an edgy brand and somewhat questionable at times. Whereas Chanel is like so classic and soft and neutral and like elegant and poised. And then Gucci is like a little bit more like loud in your face, flashy, like bold, but not as like intimidating, I would say, as a Balenciaga.
Right.
But they're all similarly priced. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make is they think, well, if I'm trying to charge 10,000 or 15,000 or $20,000, like as long as they can afford me, that's fine. But I feel like so many of us, like we're so proud of our businesses, and part of us wants to carve out this iconic lane within the industry. Like actually, if you scroll back on the podcast, about a year ago, we had Lauren Fair on the website on the podcast, and she talks about how all of her images are iconic. And I feel like that's the goal for so many of us is whether we want to admit it or not, we want to be somewhat iconic when it comes to the industry. We want to be known for something with our work, through our brand. And if you are for everyone, if it's this just like jumbled mess where you're working with like all kinds of people, you can't carve out an iconic lane for yourself. But if you take the Chanel, the Balenciaga, and the Gucci route, it's so much easier for everyone on the outside to see exactly who you are as an artist.
And who you're for.
And
So
who you're
not
for.
just who you are, but who you're for. And in
Yes.
turn, that becomes so clear in the messaging when it comes to wedding planners. I think so many of us, we get scared of like handing the control over to the wedding planners in terms of like client management and things like that. Because I'll be honest, when we started getting planners inquiring with us, I was so scared that they were pitching us to like the wrong people, where I'm like, no, wait. I have to get on a call with them. I have to figure out that they're a right fit. But what I was missing is that it was for the first time ever, we were getting really clear on our branding and who we were, what we served, and what we were for, that the planners were actually seeing that and creating a really clear fit for us and the clients. And so that's something that's so important for like us to understand, is that it's going to serve ourselves better to be so clear on who it is that we're trying to attract. And so inside of our masterclass next week, we're going to be talking about the ways in which to go about being really clear on your messaging and your brand to attract the clients that you want to work with. And in turn, be able to hand over some of that heavy lifting and creative client management that may be bogging down a little bit of our creative processes, so that it's like a clean transaction and we're working with great clients again and again who are a really great fit for our brand and we can serve them super well.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's the first step truly. And again, it's one where it's hard for people to put into words like what their ideal client is or for them to even find that. So let us help you. It's something that Kelly and I love doing with our mastermind students and then inside this masterclass. So we would love to have you with us inside there. Okay, Kelly, you kind of hinted at it when you were on your little roll.
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. It's just, they just go in tandem so well together. So it's like a clear, fluid transition.
Yeah, there's no clear delineation for sure. So we talked about who we are and who we are for and who we are not for, which is equally as important. But next is what?
So the what is really what we're showcasing and where we're showcasing. And it's everywhere online. It's not just our website, it's our Instagram presence and everything. I think the most dangerous part in 2026 is that we as creatives are still kind of enamored with this concept of virality, which can be really great for visibility, but visibility doesn't equal in demand. And so we want to be able to showcase inside of this masterclass, like what you need to be putting out in order for your ideal client to be able to see, like, this speaks to me. This is something that is in alignment with my values. This is in alignment with what I'm looking for in my wedding photographer or my wedding filmmaker. And really, like, everywhere that you show up matters.
Yeah, I feel like there's two ways to approach it, which the going viral method feels a little bit like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, which if your goal is views, like that's a great way to do it. But I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who they're like, I got 1 million views on that. I got 10,000 new followers from this post, or like this post has, I don't know, 1,000 pieces of engagement on it. But then the follow-up question is, did you book anything from it? And most of the time, the answer is no, especially as you are entering higher levels of the market where you're charging more. That's just not generally how people are sourcing their creative team. But it may work more in like the mainstream levels of the market where you're charging like between $3,000 and $6,000. I think that could work. But what we would rather do is be really, really discerning with what we are showing. And I think of kind of a fun way to like paint this picture is through our mastermind, we do a lot of portfolio reviews. And with that, sometimes we have access to photographers' full galleries. We are seeing extended films from filmmakers. And it's really cool to see how somebody can approach a wedding day and they walk away with a set of 1,200 images. And there are like many, many ways you can curate that gallery to showcase very different types of brands.
Yes.
Like if you're leaning more into like the edgy party girl, cool girl like vibes, like you're going to select this subset of images. If you're leaning more into like the very classic timeless photographer look, you're going to pull these subset of images. And while we're delivering all of those things to the client, it's all based on curation of what you're sharing online, what the content that's going to be highlighted, across the internet that's going to bring in that who, right? So first it's who, and then you use that base of who you're trying to attract to decide what to showcase. Same can be said for films. Like we walk away as filmmakers with terabytes of footage at the end of a wedding weekend. And it's all about what we are paring down to those 1 minute reels that we show on Instagram.
I mean, I would even say for me, if it's a portfolio worthy wedding, I'm even looking at it in terms of like, what am I showcasing within that full 6-minute film? I actually, at the end of this year, I commissioned an editor to edit my final 2 weddings. And she's actually someone that I know really well. And I'm actually so interested to hear her thoughts on like some of my feedback. So one of the things was when I was going through some of the shots to remove, it was even getting down to like, let's remove the shot of like the bride putting on her shoes. The shoes are not the brand. Like they just weren't the brand. Her dress was the brand, her hair was the brand. Like there was so much about her attire that was the brand, but like even just cutting that like shoe shot, like that just wasn't the brand for 618 Studios. I was like, let's cut this. It wasn't the brand. Same thing with like the mother of the bride's dress. Like it was stunning. It was beautiful. I get it. And we do need to showcase some stuff of like the mom getting into the dress, but there was a few other shots that were just kind of like filler shots that included the mom in there with the dress. And I just said like, let's remove this shot and this shot here. As much as like I'd love to showcase the mom as much as possible, the dress just wasn't the brand. And also it even could be something like where what you're giving to the client is a little bit different than like what you're curating down for you. Like Taylor and I always say, like, it's like one for you, one for me, one for you, one for me. And I think so many people get stuck into like, I just have to give the client like everything that they value, and they don't leave enough for themselves to be able to paint that clear messaging of what the brand values at its core.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, like if there's a big gap between what the client should and wants to receive and what you want to showcase online, there's no rule that says you have to share on your portfolio or on Instagram the exact thing that the client is receiving. Like there can be two versions, no big deal. We've done that before too. So I think it's just going the extra mile and really paying attention to what you're choosing to showcase from your body of work. I don't think people think about it like that deeply, but if we're being honest, like it is that deep. It is that deep. It's
I hear
brand.
so many times it's not that deep. It's not that deep on like certain things. And I believe that to my core on a lot of things, but this is one of those times where I'm like, it is that deep. It really is.
It really is. Yeah. Okay. That brings us to the where. And this is one of those things where it can be overwhelming. There are so many places you can be showing up online or even in person and representing your brand. Like everywhere from LinkedIn to Pinterest to Threads to TikTok, Instagram, bridal shows, conferences, monthly networking groups, like all kinds of things.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is that there's so many places where we can showcase our portfolio or just like a small snippet of the extension of our portfolio. And so where we're choosing to show up also really matters. Not only is it the what, but it's the where. So like for me, I know that like my clients are not hanging out on TikTok. Like in 2026, in this day of age, like maybe in 2028 they may be, and I'll notice that. But as of now, they're not hanging out on TikTok. I know that LinkedIn is no part of my journey when it comes to my wedding clients, probably my corporate commercial clients, if I'm being honest. But like, you just need to know like where you're putting your efforts. There's so many places where we can be like throwing darts at a board, thinking that it's going to bring us visibility. And sure, it may be bringing us visibility, but I'll be like, also kind of saying like, if you're not putting your like eggs in the correct basket when it comes to where you're showing up, then you're just going to remain invisible because it's going to fall flat and it's not speaking to who that client is. And I also just we haven't talked about this yet, Taylor, but I wanted to talk about the fact that when you are in the mainstream market and you're at a lower price point, you probably don't need to think about these things as much. That's where it's not that deep. But if you're sitting here in 2026 and you're realizing like, I haven't been able to scale my prices to where I want them to be. I haven't been able to shoot the weddings that I know that I'm capable of shooting and that I want on my portfolio that I hate the word competitors, but I'll just say it, like other competitors are shooting in my local market. And that's where like, we really do need to do that like deep core business work in order to be able to become in demand so that we can raise our prices to that next level and then continue to scale it in a way that makes sense year after year.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a puzzle. Like, and the thing about puzzles is if you have 3/4 of the pieces, the puzzle's not done, right?
Yeah.
So every piece really does matter. So if you're frustrated and you're thinking about your friend who maybe started business at a similar time as you and like they've scaled so fast and maybe you haven't, or you feel like you've hit a certain plateau, or maybe those don't apply to you and you're just like, okay, 2026 is my year. I'm getting after it. This is the year where it's my turn. It's my turn, right? For any reason. Maybe it's from artistic fulfillment side. Maybe it's from a financial and monetary side where you just want to charge more. If this is your year, let's make sure we have all of the pieces of the puzzle ready to go to put into place. and hit the ground running in 2026, which kind of brings us to our why, which is probably, I mean, besides the who part, like this is one of the most important reason or pieces of the puzzle. And it's our little bonus W that we're bringing to the table, because if you're not clear on your why and why you're looking to scale, why you're looking to grow, why you're looking to pursue this next level in business, you're not going to see it through with the tenacity that it really takes in order to gain traction in your business. You have to be so crystal clear. And for some of us, like, you're just true artists and you're just like, I want to be able to shoot these events because it's going to be so inspiring for me. Or maybe you're like a people person and you're like, I've always dreamt of working with this kind of client. Or maybe you're more financially driven, which is also great. And you're like, I would like to be able to double my prices so that I can provide for my family, or I can contribute in this way to society, or so that I can live this lifestyle that I really want. Like, whatever your why is, or any combination of the whys that are possible, just understanding those things will really, really help you stick to the path that you're about to embark on.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And I love that we're in a new year and that we're hosting this masterclass, because it truly is a new path. And like you said, like, it needs to be the year where it's like, it's my turn. Like, I've put in the time. I have grown this business for a few years now, and I'm looking for just something different for myself in terms of creative fulfillment. Because after a while, the weddings that we dreamed of shooting maybe 3 years ago, it starts to feel like a repetitive cycle, right? And we need new things as creatives to keep us fulfilled and to keep things interesting and inspiring.
Yeah, 100%. So again, we're so excited to have this be the way that we're starting 2026 off. Join us inside this brand new masterclass. This is something we've never done before. I mean, I will say, sometimes we do repeat workshops, repeat classes, but this is a brand new one, which we feel is so fitting for a brand new year. We would love to have you. Let's all go from being invisible to in demand together through this masterclass. Again, thelevelupco.com/masterclass. Save your seat inside. Kelly and I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.